It's 8:15. There are times, aren't there, when the version of a story that is played out in a TV drama draws huge amount of attention to a story from the past. It's happened previously when dramatisations effectively make a lot of people go, I just did not know that story in that way.
And they have to be done very carefully, because particularly with this one, which is looking at the faulty computer system which caused the wrongful conviction and imprisonment of hundreds of post office workers, so many lives were dramatically and awfully affected. So the programme, the series, concludes tonight.
Yes, the show itself has prompted a huge response. And, Ben, you've been looking into this. It's interesting, isn't it? Because I think a lot of people are saying, on seeing the drama, they kind of knew about the story, but didn't really understand fully the impact and just how it came about.
Yeah, and I think that's really come across in the response we've seen both to the drama and the explanation we've given about the background to it all. It's been described as one of the biggest miscarriages of justice in British history, and the injustices involved are still yet to be righted. A huge response to that four-part drama based on real-life events. Many people unaware of what had happened, and, as I say, those injustices still left unresolved. Let's remind you of the background to all of this. Plenty of you were getting in touch asking why there have been no criminal prosecutions against those responsible. Lots of you saying you love the drama, plenty also saying it's made their blood boil, that it took so long before any action was taken. As I say, let's remind you, the scandal began way back in 2019 with the introduction of the Horizon computer system. Faults in the software produced large accounting shortfalls. That then led to the wrongful prosecution of more than 700 post office employees, some serving prison sentences and many financially and emotionally ruined by the experience. It was only after a long class action legal campaign that they were found to have been wrongly convicted in 2019. And last night's episode of the TV drama concentrated on the process of clearing the names of those wrongfully prosecuted. Have a look at this clip featuring a cameo by former Chancellor Nadeem Zahawi on a select committee as the scandal was first unfolding.
That sounds to me like a shambles. We are hearing from Bob that your organisation has been obstructive to his independent work. Is that right or wrong?
We have provided for every single case detailed, thorough, independent investigation.
Let me stop you there. We've just heard from Bob, who is independent, that you have not. You are the head of the organisation. Will you provide the information, yes or no?
This is the first time that I have been asked for this information.
Yes or no?
I am not aware.
Will you provide it, yes or no? Give me a simple answer.
Well, there'll be more such questions when the public inquiry resumes its work next week. Still many issues to be resolved around compensation for those who are wrongfully convicted. And so far, only 93 convictions have actually been overturned, with calls for many more outstanding ones to be quashed. Another key person featured in the drama is Paula Venables, who you can see here. She was the chief executive of the Post Office between 2012 and 2019, during which prosecutions of workers were still being carried out, despite the evidence already existing that there were faults with the IT system. The MP who chairs the parliamentary group on post offices says those involved in the scandal have not been held fully accountable.
I think those people who got honours because of the work they did in Post Office Limited, who were connected to hiding things, prosecuting innocent people, I think their honours should be taken back. And I'm referring specifically here to Paula Venables and her team, and those investigators who've already shown at the inquiry how little they considered the effect of what they were doing.
Well, the public inquiry is not due to conclude and give its final report findings until early next year. The Post Office says it fully shares the aims of that inquiry to establish what went wrong in the past and the accountability for it. I'm delighted to say we can now speak to Alan Bates. He's the former sub-postmaster who has led the campaign for justice, and it's his story that is at the centre of the TV drama. Alan, very good to have you with us. Firstly, what do you make of the drama and the impact that it's having on this case?
Well, the drama's been excellent for exposing really what went on to a very wide audience. I mean, I don't know how you can compress 20 years campaigning into a few hours of film, but what I think where the drama really succeed is to give examples of the suffering that some of these people, or that a lot of these people, actually went through. And you know, I think you see about half a dozen cases in the drama, but I mean, there are hundreds and hundreds of stories very similar, right across the board.
That's one side of it, one part of it, isn't it? The suffering and the injustice that was done. The thing that has resonated with so many people watching at home this morning and yesterday is them saying to us, who was responsible and why have they not been held to account? What's your view on that side of it, the accountability?
The accountability, I think, is yet to be addressed in all of this. I mean, Sir Wynn's inquiry is delving into the real detail of it and who knew what and when. I mean, those of us involved with this are well aware of probably who these people are, but they have to be held to account. They really do. I believe Sir Wynn's appointed a KC to look at what can be done in a number of these instances.
And just looking at your campaign, you were offered an honour for your services to justice, which you refused on the basis that someone else has an honour that you don't think should have that honour.
Well, if I'd accepted it, you know, if I did accept it, it would be on behalf of the whole group. But, I mean, to accept it would have been a slap in the face, really, while Paula Vernell still hangs on to her CBE for services to post office. If it had been for disservices to post office, I could understand it. But she's ruined a major institution, British institution, all by herself, with it under her stewardship.
Has she said anything to you about her honour and the fact she's still got it?
No. I haven't spoken to her since, I suppose, well, the time of the initial mediation scheme back in 2012-15. But I mean, if you look at the terms of how these honours are actually handed out and retained by individuals, you'll see she is failing very, very badly in adhering to the terms.
I mean, we'd like to offer people a right of reply, but I know that Paula Vernell's lawyers said after the High Court ruling that she's participating in the Post Office Horizon IT inquiry and she hasn't provided evidence yet, so it would be inappropriate for her to comment. If she did change her mind and wish to comment, we'd be delighted to hear from her. But speaking about people you've had meetings with, another issue that's come to the fore is the former Postal Services Minister, Ed Davey, between 2010 and 2012. Just explain the struggle that you had to get a meeting with him.
Well, all the ministers, I mean, ever since we started campaigning back in 2009 as a group, we tried to meet with each of them. And Ed Davey was one of the early ones in there. And I wanted to get in there and try and explain everything. We put everything in documentation for them anyway. But he said he had other things on. He'd been assured by Post Office everything was all right and didn't see the need of a meeting.
By October 2010, though, I understand that a meeting did take place, did it, with you? That's what is being reported.
It may. You have to bear with me. I had an awful lot of meetings over the years with ministers. I'd have to go back and check on the detail of that. But
Mr. Davey, now obviously leader of the Liberal Democrats, has said that he regrets not doing more. He says that Post Office officials misled him and other ministers. What would you say to him?
I actually believe there's an element in truth in there, not just with Ed Davey, but in a lot of the ministers there. I can see the civil service and those responsible for Post Office actually briefing their ministers in such a way, giving them all these assurances. It's something I've noticed in all the time I've spent in Westminster.
He says he regrets not doing more. What do you think he could have done differently?
I don't think he could have done a great deal more other than instigate some sort of investigation at that time, an external one. And that's something I've always pressed or tried to press with ministers, that not to take the word of Post Office about things and to look at independent investigations into the Horizon system. But obviously they've all refused over the year. And it wasn't until we got our own independent experts into the system during the court trial that we managed to expose the depth of failures within the system.
This has hung over you like a cloud for more than 20 years now. What would you see as a satisfactory outcome? When do you feel that this case will finally be behind you? What are the unresolved issues for you?
The priority at the moment, there's a lot of issues, but I mean, the priority at the moment is to get the money that people are actually due and actually owed. I know the government like to try and spin it and call it compensation, but this is the financial redress they're owed. Get it out to them as soon as possible. I mean, even in the current scheme, people have been waiting over 20 months for payments. I mean, they've had a few interim payments, but they haven't had their full and final redress, and they can't get on with their lives, what's left of them, because we've lost 60 or 70 along the way.
So that's the unresolved issues in terms of the victims of all of this. What do you think should happen to those who are responsible?
Oh, they've got to be held to account. And if government and the organisations don't do it, then we as a group will be looking to do it ourselves.
OK. Alan, thank you very much for taking the time to speak to us this morning. Alan Bates there, former sub-postmaster who led that campaign to expose the problems and the failings with the Horizon IT system. And the final part of that drama airs tonight. Naga, Charlie.
Ben,